All right, guys, Seth and I are out tonight. I got a late start, so it's dark, and I wasn't going to film anything, but I talked to my son. I was talking to a different son this weekend, and we got to talking about like being in the flow and what it feels like to be in the flow, and if you can still do it when you get older. So I thought I would talk a little bit tonight. I've done a lot of sports in my life, and like I say, I've been in the flow a lot of times. And if you don't know what the flow is, it's kind of one of those being in the zone where your mind, your body, everything just clicks. Everything comes together and you feel great. And I would say I've done it a lot of times in my life in a lot of different sports, but there's 2 times in my life that were just breathtakingly awesome, and they were in completely different sports and they were 30 years apart. But let's see if we can analyze those. I'll tell you about them, and we'll see if we can find any commonalities and see if anything can be applicable to skating, especially as we get old, because I mean, I need to get into flow as much as I can when I get old to kind of keep myself going. So let's talk about those. All right, so the first time I was racing motocross, probably I was 24, 23, 24, and I just gotten a brand new motorcycle, and this is my 3rd race. So the first race, I got 3rd in the main event. The next race, the next week, I got 2nd in the main event. So this week, man, I was fired up. I was ready to go. I was excited. And there was only really one guy who was my main competition. And strangely enough, his name was Todd. My name is Todd. His name was Todd. So I was on a KX 125. He was on a Honda CR 125. And he and I were pretty evenly matched. And so I got a really good start in the main event, and I was in 3rd place. What I didn't realize was that he had hit his gate and crashed, and so he was way back in the pack. So I was 3rd place going into the first corner. 2nd corner, the 2nd place guy went high, took my front wheel right out from under me, and basically I had to dive to the inside of the track to not get run over. And then my bike went up to the top of the corner. Well, it was so early in the race, I couldn't get back across. So everybody went by. I ran back up to get my bike, and as soon as I got my bike, I saw Todd go by. And at that moment, I knew he had had a really bad start as well. So at that point, he was next to last, I was dead last. I'd say up to that point, I'd been maybe kind of a little bit timid racer, you know, kind of upper mid-pack guy, but I was in dead last place. I had absolutely nothing to lose, and it just something clicked. And I zeroed in on the back of his bike, and both of us, we were like crazy. We were just passing people left and right. And so for 30 minutes, man, I didn't know what was going on around me. All I knew was the back of his bike and flying around that track. I mean, we were jumping the double and landing in the flats. We were jumping almost all the whoops at one time coming out of the corner. So it was awesome. And both of us were so in the zone that we missed the white flag, and both of us missed the checkered flag. We had actually gotten 1st and 2nd place and didn't know it. We were so busy chasing people down. So the checkered flag came out. He and I kept going. About 3/4 of the way around the lap, we realized, hey, there's nobody else on the track. Something's going on. So we came into the pit, and the guys ran up to us and were like, you won. And we're like, what? And yeah, we had won the race. So he got 1st, I got 2nd, and that was the guy that beat me in cowboy boots. I talked about in my other video. So I was all decked out in my riding gear. He had cowboy boots and jeans, but he was a dang good rider, so I have to give him credit for that. But that was the first time I was in the flow, man. I mean, I didn't know what was going on other than riding that bike. Everything clicked. All my braking was perfect. My shifting was perfect. Just jumps were perfect. Everything was perfect. And it's so perfect, it gives me goosebumps now. And I will never forget that ride as long as I have a brain that's not damaged. So, but the 2nd time was in a sport so completely different than that. It was in running. And so that was 30 years later. So let's talk about that one. All right, so the next one was 2018. I was 56. And I was running in a 50K trail race. We have a trail race every year that goes from 2 of our state parks that are fairly close by. From Pilot Mountain State Park, you run over to Hanging Rock State Park. And it's trails, horse trails, it's rocks, it's roots, it's uphill, it's downhill, and it's dang tough. And so I got into that. I mean, I was ready for it. I had trained like a banshee. I have some training videos up for that are really old, but I was ready, I was in shape, and I was fired up. So, you know, two things they both have in common was I was really excited. I was really excited for that one motocross race, and I was really excited for this run-in race. And so I was doing well enough. And at the halfway point, like a little over 15 miles, you got a bag. You can pick up a bag that's got, you know, you can swap shoes, you can swap socks, you can swap clothes, whatever you want to do. I didn't really swap any clothing, but I got some new gels, you know, redid my gel packs and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of energy. And I had been kind of running behind this train of people that sometimes they'd run faster than I want to go, sometimes they'd run slower. And I pulled out of that aid station and I got into a groove. And for the next 5 miles, man, I was like just unstoppable. I was running over rocks, I was running over roots, I was running through rivers. I wasn't even slowing down. It's like I couldn't put my foot in the wrong place no matter what I did. And I ended up covering those 5 miles, the fastest 5 miles of the race. And I was incredible. And then I got to an aid station at 20 miles and I lost my mojo and fell apart. Well, I didn't fall apart, but I lost the flow after that. And, you know, the pain kind of snuck in and it was a struggle. But for those 5 miles, it was just like that motocross race where I couldn't, whatever was going on around me, I wasn't paying attention to. I wasn't even paying attention to where I was putting my feet. They just went in the right place. No matter where I stepped, that was the right place. So let's talk about maybe what those things have in common and if any of that at all is applicable to skating. All right, so let's talk about what those two things had in common. And I've already said one thing was I was totally excited for both of them. So, you know, I think being excited for something is probably the first step in getting into the flow. The second thing was I was trained. I was physically capable of doing what I did. I had ridden motocross my whole life, and you know, I was a capable rider. Mostly what held me back was my mind. And same way running. I mean, I was a good runner. I've always been a good runner. And again, the only thing that really kept me back was my knee a little bit, but mainly my mind. You worry about rocks, you worry about roots. And so, you know, I think the second thing is being physically capable of doing what you're trying to get in the flow in. I mean, if you're scared every step of the way, then you're definitely not going to get in the flow. And the third thing, I don't know, the running, maybe not so much, but on the motocross bike, I had nothing to lose. I was in last place. I wasn't going to go any further back. So I gave up. I thought I was so far behind, I was never going to catch up. And so I had nothing to lose. And I guess on the run is kind of the same way where I'm running a 50K, 31 miles. I'm 56 years old. My chances of even being anywhere near the front those guys were probably done when I was at the halfway point. So, you know, I had nothing to lose there. I had nothing to fear. I had nothing to lose. And so maybe that's the other thing is you got excitement, you got capability, and you just basically have nothing to lose. So, you know, let's apply that to skating. So you're excited to come out and do some stuff. You're capable, you know, you've worked on the basics, you've worked on the fundamentals, and you're capable. And last thing is, you know, you're not comparing yourself to anybody. You're not in a contest, and you don't have anything to lose. You know, I'm out here skating, just having a blast tonight, and I'm going to actually do a video because I'm making really good progress skating backwards. But, you know, Seth and I got nothing to lose out here. We're not competing against anybody. We're not comparing ourselves to anybody because there's nobody else out here on skates, number one. But even if there were, we just kind of use it as motivation. So, you know, I think those three things really can help you. And I don't think age matters. You know, the first one I was in my 20s. The last one that I really remember, I might have been in the flow skating a couple of times, but you know, I was in my 50s. So yeah, I don't think age makes a difference about getting in the flow. It's being ready to let go and just let things flow. You know, just like it says, get in the zone, let things flow. And so I think maybe, you know, I have been in the flow a couple of nights, maybe skating. It probably doesn't lend itself to the flow quite as easily as maybe running or being on a motorcycle, just because of its stop and go nature. Because I do know if you stop, you kind of get out of the flow. But I think there are times, you know, I've had some really great nights where I felt like I was on fire. until I fell. And you know, I think it's possible to get in the flow on the skates and the skateboard, and just enjoy yourself. Just let it go and have some fun, and you know, find your flow. So I hope, you know, some of this is, if not helpful, at least entertaining to you guys. And I appreciate you watching. And if you like it, appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. So until next time, we'll see you on the next one.